Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we empower believers to build kingdom businesses that advance the Great Commission. I'm Vicki Norris.
I'm Patrice Sage.
I met Patrice when I went through his biblical entrepreneurship training program. It personally transformed me and my business. That's why I've joined him in this program, because now I'm passionate about helping you discover the power of kingdom principles for your business. Well, today, Patrice, we have a series on stewardship, a topic near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
You know, we featured a stewardship teaching this past month, a learning series, and a professor. And today we're featuring a kingdom business. And I want you to share with our listeners why our guest, Stuart Funke, is a kingdom business steward.
Well, first, his name is Stuart. No, but really, Stuart's firm, FWI,
Family Wealth Institute,
not only helps people stewardship, but Vicki, among all the biblical entrepreneurs and some of the businesses that we coach, I think that Family Wealth Institute really exemplify, and particularly in Stuart as a leader and his team, a passion to not just help others with stewardship, but also to model stewardship in how they run their businesses. You know, when I first came to the Portland area, Family Wealth was one of the first companies that I was introduced. I remember Judah took me to their office and began to share with me their vision and really how they were leveraging their resources for the benefit of the kingdom work within the region, the community. I left back from that first trip really excited that I had found a company that was really modeling what biblical entrepreneurship teaches. And so really, Family Wealth truly not only is about helping others about stewardship, but they model that in the way they run their businesses. And I am a witness to that because I've seen that firsthand, how they've dealt with challenges and crises and just the tough things that most businesses wouldn't know how to deal with, or with curve or compromise.
You know, it seems to me, too, a little bit like Stuart's company, Family Wealth Institute, has acted a little bit like an incubator for Nehemiah Project International Ministries as you've made your transition to the Portland area, just allowing you to host meetings at their company and actually bringing you in to coach their company.
Right.
So they've really put their arms around biblical entrepreneurship, and you personally not only welcoming you to this area, but also kind of being a satellite office a little bit for
And they
Nehemiah.
have. I mean, even before we moved here, Judah particularly, along with Stephanie, which two staff members of Family Wealth. Judah is no longer with Family Wealth, but they were one of the driving force of maintaining contact with us.
So you're saying that we have Family Wealth Institute to blame or thank?
That is true.
We have them to thank in part for welcoming you to this area.
And then when we moved here, Family as a company, if we're going to look at one single company that really went out of their way to make a commitment to biblical entrepreneurship in the region. It was Family Wealth. They've all their staff have come to our booth camps. So everything we've done, they've supported, not just by lip service, but through their actions.
Well, and I know that Stuart Funke was a part of your original advisory team here that I have been a part of, helping you transition your ministry to the Northwest. In fact, it was he, I think, who invited me to be part of it. So what a great opportunity you and I have today to introduce our friend and local businessman, Stuart Funke, to our program. I'm going to share with our listeners a little bit about Stuart. He is the managing director of Family Wealth Institute. He was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. He's a recognized financial speaker, educator, and author with over 30 years in the financial planning field. Stuart holds several financial services designations, such as Certified Financial Planner, Certified Insurance Counselor, and Certified Senior Advisor. He is a charter member also of Kingdom Advisors. Stuart and his wife, Anna, who is a lovely woman, I might add, reside in Westland, Oregon, and are very involved in several civic and charitable projects right here in the Portland metro area. Stuart has an extensive background in tax mitigation, financial planning, plan giving, and estate planning. He enjoys skiing, hiking, biking, and being outdoors. He has a strong passion for his faith, and he spends a lot of time working towards helping the Planned Giving Initiative in Portland. Welcome to the program, Stuart.
Thank you, Vicki. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so fun to have you here, Stuart. I know Patrice and I have been excited to welcome you to our program for some time. And what a perfect opportunity that we have here in the stewardship series that we've been having this month. We couldn't have a better guest than you, because you and I both understand stewardship is about so much more than money.
Absolutely.
So I want you to share with our listeners a little bit about Family Wealth Institute, about your team, and just kind of what makes you different as a company.
Well, several years ago in the financial world, there's so many different pieces to it. It was frustrating to see each individual industry just be myopic in what they did, whether it be the legal issues or the tax issues or the real estate issues or the investing issues. So we created Family Wealth Institute as kind of an educational firm first, with the idea of coordinating the professionals to tie them all together so that we could put together truly a comprehensive plan that would bring what we call true wealth and a true legacy to our business owners and to our clients that we serve.
So when you say you were bringing together all these different disciplines, real estate and tax, so then do you kind of have, in addition to your employees, do you have another almost rung of key advisors that Family Wealth engages then kind of on a spot basis then with you for your clients?
Each one is independent in their own services, so we don't receive compensation from any of them. But knowing which attorney, at what level do you need an estate plan? Are you a $35 million company that you need to transition to the next generation, which we've had? Or do you just need a revocable trust? So different levels of attorneys, or CPAs are the same way. Some are very, very proactive in the corporate planning areas. Somebody else might just need their tax returns done. So, and brokers and mortgage brokers, et cetera, real estate people, same thing. So you're trying to coordinate an array of godly people that have the same focus to serve the client.
Okay. Now, how do you guys define true wealth? I heard you use that phrase, and I bet that sparked interest for some of our listeners. What is true wealth, according to you and to Family Wealth Institute?
Most people describe wealth, when you think of that, as a monetary aspect of how much money we have, how much we've built up in our barns. Really, true wealth is made up of a much more important issues, such as your core values, your family values, your spiritual values. We call it the basis to who you are as a family. And then, of course, there's your educational values that also allow, the hard knocks of life. Sometimes we get our best education, not just from our formal education. And then, of course, there's our community. Our community includes our biblical friends and families. It includes our relatives. It also, unfortunately, includes Uncle Sam. He kind of injects himself into your community whether you like it or not. So we'd like to maybe mitigate his contribution and increase the godly kingdom's contribution as opposed to that, when possible.
Stuart, first, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patrice.
I want to thank you for all that you and your company has done in supporting Nehemiah in the region of the Northwest, and really for the marketplace movement in this region, the kingdom.
Well, we truly feel blessed that you have relocated here to the Northwest. All of us are super excited about
Amen.
that.
Amen. Now, your company recently embraced the concept of biblical responsible investing as a core part of your firm. First, what is that? Because many people listening to us may not know what biblical responsible investing is. And how do you practically help your clients in being biblically responsible with their resources?
Well, first of all, in investing, people got the idea that just pushing it out a whole bunch of mutual funds across the universe was called diversification. And that's just diversification across the universe on a whole bunch of stocks usually. And as we saw in 2008, that didn't work out for most people when they lost 50% of their values. But more importantly than that, also, what are those mutual funds investing in? Do you really want your mutual fund manager that you probably don't even know who they are investing in pornography or abortion, supporting not the family values that have come so dear to us as godly people that say we want to honor God and what He has? Because really, who are we? We are just managing resources that truly belong to God, whether it's the money or whether it's our time or talents or even the truth of God or the principles that He's asked us to take care of our environment, etc. All that stuff is stewardship, and let's make sure that we know how we're investing God's dollars as a steward for Him.
How does that differentiate, though, from the traditional socially responsible investing?
Social responsibility can include a lot of the green issues, things like that. We're much more interested in the biblical issues. Some people, it's important that they don't cut down trees. That's not that important to us. We want to maintain our environment in the proper perspective, so tree harvesting in the right way, it would be socially responsible, not just cutting it out. On the other hand, I really don't want to be promoting pornography. I really don't want to have the companies that we invest in our money in.
So it gets into moral issues, things that defame our society.
Family, society.
Which is also important for not just Christian, but for all people, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Just to add something to that point, we've had on the program Art Alley of the stewardship series, the biblical stewardship series, and I can say, as a client of Family Wealth Institute, what an awesome job you're doing to embrace this biblically responsible investing. And just to give our listeners out there a little bit of a clue what that means, let's say you're giving a couple $1,000s a year to an organization that you care about, a ministry that you care about, maybe pregnancy resource centers or something that's helping mothers and babies. And then you're investing all the while in companies that are actually promoting the abortion agenda, and you didn't even know it. But your mutual, fund is invested heavily, and you're making money, but you're actually building profits for the abortion industry. Meanwhile, you're over here giving money to help save babies. And so I think, just to spell that out for the listener, that's what biblically responsible investing means, is that we got to care on a deeper level. We have to wake up. And I'm so proud of you, Stuart, for doing that. Just a little testimonial here, too. I recently had a spokesperson opportunity where a major national brand contacted me to do some organizing work for them, write for their site and build their brand. Well, I contacted Stuart's company and said, hey, guys, I know you have an evaluator where you can evaluate the moral fabric of these companies and what they're sponsoring, what they're invested in, what they care about, where they advertise. Would you look up this company for me? And they did, and they found out that they were strong proponents of the homosexual agenda.
Wow.
So I've made a decision that when they do call me back, I'm going to have to decline. No matter how lucrative the opportunity is, why would I want to go out there and use my organizing expertise to advance the brand of a company that, doesn't...
Vicki, I love that. You're taking biblical responsibility to another level.
Well, it's serious.
and by the way, I know that this company she was looking at is a major corporation in this country, so it could have been a very lucrative thing for her.
But I think that's
biblical entrepreneurship.
That's biblical entrepreneurship. But I mean, a lot of times I think a lot of people listening out there want to run their personal lives, want to run their businesses according to God's standards, but they haven't even thought about some of these things. So I just wanted to add that to the biblically responsible investing concept, is really break it down for people what it really means. Stuart, one of the things I've noticed is just your heart to help people that experience the fullness of what God intends for them, not just, in the financial arena, but can you talk a little bit about creating a legacy? What does that mean, and how do you do that for people?
We're all going to leave a legacy, Vicki, whether we like it or not. It's going to be good or bad, or maybe somewhere in between. But when we die, what we leave behind is our generations to come. And whether that's in a company that you want to make sure they kept the same value systems that you set up, or whether it's in a family. I don't care whether they're a very large, multi-generational, multi-million-dollar company, or somebody that has very little. We all are going to leave a legacy. And I found that we've had a generation, our baby boomer generation primarily, which I'm a part of, have loved our children so much that in a sense we have created an entitlement mentality. We didn't mean to. We sent them to the best schools. We sent them to, classic soccer, etc. And then all of a sudden they seem like they're supposed to be going on vacations in Hawaii, and they're supposed to having, the parents buy their car and bail them out of debt and all that sort of stuff. And that's what I call an entitlement mentality. And of course we see it in the governmental system all the time. We saw what we did to the American Indians population. Did we really help them by paying them off, or did we make their society worse? New Orleans, what's going on down there right now? It's been said that they now bus people in an hour from out of town to work at McDonald's for $17 an hour because the people there do not want to work when they can get the money from the government. So the question is this: who do we blame? do we blame the people that are giving the money, or do we blame the people that are on the entitlement? And this was a question that really hit hard home to me one time. When my daughter turned 16, she refused to drive an automobile that I had been driving for many years, and I'd saved it a couple more years so that she could drive to school, a nice, solid, heavy Peugeot, keep her nice and safe. She actually said, "I can't drive that car to school, Dad." And after 3 months of bugging me to get her a different car.
Oh, because it wasn't good enough.
Peugeot
was not
good enough. It wasn't.
I feel like if it's a French name, it's got to be good enough.
Well, yeah, it's French. It was at that time it was called the poor man's Mercedes, right?
Okay. I had a Dodge Shadow. Come on now. My friends called it the rental car, Stuart.
Well, admittedly, when she would start this car, because of the diesel, it would blow a cloud of white smoke out the backside. So you usually had to back into the parking space so you could immediately leave and you didn't have to drive through it. But when we were growing up, of course, we had to work at 9, 10 years old with paper routes and bean fields, and now you're not allowed to until you're 15. So. And finally she said, "Dad, it's your fault." And I said, "Well, how's that?" She said, "Well, Dad, you chose to live in Lake Oswego. You chose to send us girls to private school. And I'm just trying to keep up with my peer group at, the private school." But here was the toughest part, Vicki. She then went on to say, "Dad, if we had lived in North Portland, this would have been a perfect car."
Wow. Wow.
And for our listeners, of course, North Portland is the less economically advantaged part of town in the Portland area. And the assumption here is that because you had them live in a nice neighborhood,
the suburbs
you would fault.
That was very diplomatically stated. Very diplomatically stated.
Yes. And so then the question became, all these years of trying to teach her empowerment, haven't been able to have her work in the bean fields because, it wasn't safe. And the baby boomers now have a generation of trillions of dollars. $170 trillion will be passing from this generation to the next. And it'll just basically entitle the children to buy bigger houses, nicer cars, and probably give very little to the social consciousness of what the family really stood for on their issues.
So what you're saying as part of creating a legacy then is we've got to put a stop to this entitlement mentality, and we have to empower our children if we want to change their thinking first before their behavior can change.
Right. And in what we call the estate planning world and these big transfers that happen, we actually call it the 5 Ds of estate planning. And the first D is, first you figure out how many kids and grandchildren you have and you divide it up. Number 2, you then defer it as far as possible through the generation skipping trust techniques. Then number 3, you then dump it on the unsuspecting grandchildren, in which, number 4, they dissipate that money. Only 5% of the assets ever make it past the 3rd generation.
Wow.
And then the 5th and final one, you actually destroy the very thing that you cared most about.
Wow. Such important.
So why not instead maybe
concepts.
think about kingdom things, like maybe setting up a donor advice fund or a special trust where your children now become the advisors to that. So now they're now socially involved or economically involved, where they got to fly down to the orphanage in Kenya to find out if it's still where they want to contribute money. They don't live off of it. They don't become trust babies. But now you can continue the legacy that the grandparents have set aside. So we now empower them instead of entitling them.
Stuart, wow, that's powerful. Stuart, of course, that's one of the ways that your firm helps in the advancement of the kingdom of God, because in doing so, you are literally helping families to ensure that the resources that God has entrusted them with goes to advance the kingdom versus destroying children and really being dissipated beyond their lifetime. What are other ways that family wealth you believe actively contribute to the advance of the kingdom through what it does as a kingdom business?
Well, we found that most people come to investment advisors with the idea of where to invest their money, but that's really the wrong place to start. We found that the world economy has kind of taken a position where what we call the disappearing dollar. The governmental taxes will fear you into making sure you pay them enough because you don't want to get audited. The insurance companies will fear you into you better have insurance for this and this and this and no deductibles. And, of course, the banking industry is always out there to give you new credit cards and loans and everything like that. so that you can, and then of course Marketing America is out there, shoot, you need to have this car and that. If you only had this dress, I mean, everybody would accept you. If you only drove this kind of car, you'd be more liked, all this sort of stuff. And basically you have very little left over when you're all said and done. And yet we live in the nation country of the world. So what our job is to do is help to educate these business owners and clients on how to mitigate the risk, the world system of taking away the money. So the margins become, instead of 3 and 4 cents on the dollar, can be 30 and 40 cents on the dollar. With that margin, creates freedom. It creates a break in the spirit of mammon, which is where if we can break the spirit of mammon, we have margin in our life, that really creates peace. It allows the peace to incur. It creates a legacy. It shows an example to our children, because remember, values are caught, not taught. And then, of course, now with that extra margin, we have a lot more to give to the kingdom.
Wow.
A lot more to give to the kingdom.
Stuart, we could be here with you all day, brother. Thank you so much, man. We got to have you back at a certain time to really even expand on this a lot more.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Was that, you and I both know Stuart. I play racquetball with him. Sometimes I beat him, but we won't talk about that. But
he is getting better. He got a fair game in today and actually beat me without me.
Today is every time this show airs. But the point is that we sometimes don't realize the jewels that we have in our own backyard.
He's a leader in our community, for sure, and I think his firm, Family Wealth Institute, is a leader nationally in this biblical, responsible investing. Yeah. And I think it's just so important for all of our listeners, above all, to hear where he was headed with this, that it's really about creating true wealth and creating value in your own family beyond money, that you have something greater than money to pass down. And when you do, it's done so in a manner that uplifts and doesn't destroy.
And you know what else that was interesting about this show, Vicki? Your example, and I wish all of us could really model that, which is you actually took biblical responsible investing to a different level. You call your financial advisor before you contracted with a company to make sure you weren't doing business with the enemy. I think, and that's powerful, and that's a resource they provided to you. But guess what? Not all of us will be that courageous and that bold and that convicting to do that, to make sure that we are truly modeling it. So it's one thing to have a family.
I got to make up for all those times I didn't do that. I mean, I look back and I go, I wonder, if I helped build some of these big companies' brands, I didn't mean to,
Yeah, but that's powerful, because, I mean, you as the co-host in this show and you as a radio personality and a speaker, I think that really shows that you're living your conviction. And I hope that our listeners from this show can walk away with a commitment to live that conviction. Contact Family Wealth Institute and find out how they can live that conviction with their resources.
This whole conversation of biblical entrepreneurship and stewardship is such an important one, and my hope in participating in this program is just to help raise the consciousness of believers in business.
Amen.
So that we can wake up to the fullness that God is that He expects of us, and that He will ask us about, that we're going to be asked about all of our fields, all of our vineyards, everything that He's put under our management. And so I hope that you've been blessed today if you're listening to the Kingdom Business Forum. I hope that we've brought you another wonderful resource with Family Wealth Institute that can help you build your kingdom business. We want to invite you to friend us and like us. Our fan page is on Facebook at Kingdom Business Forum. You can also watch the full segments, because we do video each one of these. And we let you know when our upcoming shows are going to be. So do find us on Facebook at Kingdom Business Forum. God bless you, and thank you for listening today.